This past weekend were the first two Regulation H 2.0 regionals, one taking place in Mexico, the other in Germany. In this video, I will be examining the teams that took the Frankfurt Regional Championships by storm. We were treated to some fantastic Pokemon over the weekend, and I can't wait to break down some of these teams and their success. So without any further yap, let's get into the team breakdowns. Before I jump into the teams, just as a little side note, I would like to do a similar video for the Monterrey Regional, which is the other regional that took place the same weekend as Frankfurt. Just at the time that I am recording this, that regional has not yet concluded. Time zones, am I right? So, unshockingly, one of the first teams I would like to look at is Emanuele's team, is the winning team of the regional, because while you may look at this team and see it's fairly standard, right? I would say the Pokemon that is the least standard on this team would be the Alolan Ninetales, and Alolan Ninetales really did have quite, while I still don't think it is, maybe the most common Pokemon out there, Alolan Ninetales did have quite a fantastic regional at Frankfurt this past weekend. But, so aside from the Alolan Ninetales, everything looks pretty standard, but then you see the way these Pokemon are run, and it is truly anything but standard, right? On the Sneasler, we are Grassy Seed, which again, the Grassy Seed Unburdened, that is not a wild take on Sneasler at all. You have your Rillaboom for the Grassy Surge, then you get to consume the seeds. That increases your defense by one stage, as well as giving you that huge Unburden, so you are moving fast. You are a fast Sneasly Weasley. However, one of the reasons Sneasler is so good is because Sneasler gets access to, yes, you know what I'm gonna say, the move a Dire Claw, and truly this move can leave your opponent in a dire situation, right? Because Dire Claw does have a chance on contact to sleep the Pokemon that it comes in contact with, to poison the Pokemon that it comes in contact with, to paralyze the Pokemon that it comes in contact with. So it's just like a really incredible move that can absolutely steal a game from the clutches of defeat, right? You may notice there is one move in particular that is missing from this Sneasler. And yes, it is, in fact, the Dire Claw. This Sneasler is running close combat, acrobatics, and dancing with those swords. They are dancing swordily. And the protect button. So, we saw this in earlier rounds. The swords dance came into effect, was so clutch. If your opponent wants to play a little bit passive and try to get the Intimidate on your Sneasler, then you're able to click swords dance. And so if they intimidate you once, you're still at +1. You can also click the Terra Flying, making you immune to your ground type weakness, and then you get a stab boosted, because you are Terra Flying, so that gives you the stab boost for the acrobatics. And I really do think we're going to see on a lot of these top placing teams, on almost every single one of these teams, there is a grass type. So having stab or just powerful, like a powerful flying move, I think is super important and honestly underrated. Additionally, not only does the flying type damage hit grass types for super effective, but we did see a Maushold Annihilate, and Annihilate in particular, absolutely pop off at Frankfurt. So again, having that big flying type damage can force your opponents into a position where they either have to Terra or have to protect or have to eat a huge acrobatics, And the other Pokemon I do want to talk about that I think is run a little bit more interestingly is this Blood Moon Ursaluna, and we saw, especially in those finals, we saw Blood Moon Ursaluna put in a full shift, right? So this Blood Moon is leftovers, first of all, is leftovers with Terra Electric. We've seen Terra Normal for big damage. We've even seen a little bit of Terra Ghost to dodge Fake Out. We've seen Terra Water as just, Terra Water's so good. Just being a big, bulky water type makes you really annoying to deal with. The Terra Electric we have not seen a ton of, and I love the Terra Electric here, and we saw it come into effect in the finals so much. It does mean that you are taking less damage from big steel type moves, and two of the most used Pokemon in this format right now are the Golden Go and are the Archaladon are the bridge, so being able to eat those moves and then fire back if they can't Terra, fire back with a huge Earth Power or fire back with a Blood Moon is super useful. Additionally, the Yawn. We do see the Yawn here. Yawn is just a great disruptive move, right? We are seeing so much kind of like protect the queen, protect the king, protect the ruler strategies in Regulation H being set up Annihilate, being set up Golden Go, being set up Archaladon, all that kind of stuff, even here being set up Sneasler, but you just get to yawn your opponent, right? You just get to say, oh, you wanted to set up? Go to sleep next turn. Simply swap out, lose all of those boosts that you worked this entire game for, or be asleep. Give me multiple chances. Hi, Isley! Sorry, my dog is here, and she is the cutest, and she is the best. So, that Yawn really just saying, I'm gonna be disruptive. I'm here and I'm gonna be disruptive. I can either yawn you, or I can go for some really huge damage. So I really wanted to talk about this winning team. I think the way that this team is run, taking some fairly standard picks and running them in a very clearly, really effective way into the meta is just like such, how do I say it? It's such a, like, how I kind of think about Regulation H is such a good screenshot, is such a good snapshot. That's, I think, more what I meant than screenshot, but bear with me. Is such a fantastic snapshot of how I kind of see Regulation H working, right? You can take fairly, standard cores, fairly standard Pokemon, put them together in a way that you like. You know, we have the fake out friends here, we have Sneasler, like with the seed, right? We have Golden Go and Ninetales, which did get definitely see some success in Regulation H Part 1. I believe Justin Tang used it to top 8 a regional, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, we have some fairly common cores here, but then figure out a way to run them that just absolutely is the call into the meta, right? So I really want to talk about this team first. I am going to absolutely talk about Victor Medina's team. Victor Medina did get second at the Latin American International Championships in the first part of Regulation H with a rain team, with a very similar rain team at that. So here we do see the Amoonguss, but same, you know, Terra fighting on the Archaladon to really commit to that big fat body press. So again, this is what I would consider to be quite a standard rain team, a very powerful rain team, and even though people are prepared for rain, rain has to be 100% one of the most prepped for, one of the strongest archetypes in Regulation H. I do not believe that is a hot take at all. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. It is still proven that this very standard rain team, right? Golden Go, Archaladon, Basculegion, Pelipper, Incineroar, Amoonguss, very, very standard rain. It is proven that this very standard rain team can work even when people are prepping for it. So we gotta shout out the rain team there. I do definitely want. I'm really excited to specifically talk about these two teams here, right? One of them being Shohei. Shohei did get top 4 at this regional, did get 3rd at this regional. And we gotta talk about the Mouse Ape. I'm really excited because I did a video for Regulation H on really good cores, some of the best cores of Regulation H to build around, and then I also did a video on some of the best meta-defining teams to build to prepare for and to play with and to play against and everything like that in Regulation H. And we are seeing so many of these cores, we are seeing so many of these teams or versions of these teams pop up in this, what would be one of the two first, wow, so many words. I'm trying to say so many words at the same time, and then all the words get stuck like this, and then actually no word come out. Does that happen to anybody? Does that happen to anybody else? We are seeing a lot of those teams and a lot of those cores pop up in this one of the first two VGC Regulation H 2.0 regionals. Those are the words I wanted to say. It just took me 2 tries. There we go. But we do see the very classic Annihilate and Mousehold. They are running slightly maybe different items than we would expect. You know, Mouse a lot of times will run Goggles or will run Rocky Helmet. We are seeing the Focus Sash Mouse here with the Super Fang over something like the Taunt, but I really love Super Fang on the Mouse hold. That means you can just so easily set up KOs for your back, for your other Pokemon to handle, as we do see the Miracle Seed on the Rillaboom, and this, as well as the Vacuum Wave, so this works out so nicely. If you can get a couple really nice, or even just one good Super Fang off, you can put Pokemon, regardless of if your opponent is faster, you can put Pokemon in range for really big Grassy Glides, for big Vacuum Waves, all that kind of stuff, for big scale shots. So I really like the addition of the Super Fang here. We do also see Terra Fire, so you don't have to worry about burn, and the Citrus Berry on the Annihilate, which I really like. Fairly standard Dragonite, you know, Scale Shot, Tailwind, Haze, Protect, Life Orb, Golden Go, Terra Water. This is a very common set with Make It Rain, Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, and AV Blood Moon with, again, Terra Water, which I had mentioned before. You just make yourself a big, bulky water type, annoying to deal with, you know, and you get to just pump out big Hyper Voice damage, big Blood Moon damage, and then if they are a Sashmon or they live on very little HP, you hit them with that bot, you hit them with your Vacuum Wave, very, very useful. Chat. Psy-Spam will find a freaking way. To me, that's what that is what this team speaks to. This fourth place, this fourth place Psy-Spam team, I also believe, I'll have to check, but I believe either this exact same team or a very, very similar version did also get maybe top 20 at Frankfurt as well. So this team did well twice. And look, Psy-Spam does not care about your Rillabooms. Psy-Spam does not care about your Dark types. Psy-Spam will find a way to thrive, right? So this kind of reminds me, though, I love this kind of Psy-Spam. This kind of reminds me a little bit of Parker's, I believe it was Louisville top 8 team, and the team I'm referencing is, yes, of course, the Executor Psy-Spam team. And I think it just speaks to how good, and maybe specifically how good into this meta fast Psy-Spam is, right? Because the only Expanding Force user here is a Spothra with the speed boost. There is not one hint, not one whiff of Trick Room on this Indeedee. There really is not. You know, if your opponent sets Trick Room, yeah, you do have your King Gambit, yeah, you do have your Indeedee, but there really isn't, like, a Trick Room mode here. You know, it's not like you're rocking slow Psy-Spam. It's not like you're also rocking a, Torkoal or something, or even like an Ursaluna. There really isn't a super big Trick Room mode on this team, but you know I had to shout out the Expanding Force Espathra. I just think, never count Psy-Spam out. If there's one thing we have learned from Reg H, truly never count Psy-Spam out. It may just not be the Psy-Spam that you're thinking of, and seeing fast Psy-Spam like this do well makes me so happy, because if you've been around the channel for a little bit, I love using Espeon in Reg H. I haven't found the perfect Espeon sauce yet, but we are seeing Espeon teams do well. There was a, like, 34-person Limitless tour that an Espeon team did win. An Espeon team also got, like, maybe 1688 in the Global Challenge. Like, I haven't quite found the sauce that feels good to me, but never count out Psy-Spam, and especially never count out fast Psy-Spam. I do definitely want to talk about the other members of this team, particularly that Hydreigon, and particularly that Hisuian Arcanine. I really like the Mirror Herb on the Hisuian Arcanine. This is also a really fun tech. It lets you, so if you intimidate a Defiant Mon, which we do see quite a bit of in the King Gambit, but mostly in the Annihilate in Reg H, then it lets you eat or consume your Mirror Herb in a way that also gives you +1, right? We see the Terra type Water. I've talked about it time and time again. Water type is just a fantastic type, not very many weaknesses, so you can go Water type and then you can hit back with some really big offensive damage, especially if you're sitting at that +1, and you also do get an Intimidate off of your own, right? This is a pretty common Sneasler, like we said about the winning team, but this is just Psychic Seed, so you get +1 in your special defense, and then you have Dire Claw, Close Combat, Throat Chop, Terra Dark. This is a very, very common Sneasler set when you see it paired with the Indeedee. So if you're playing best of one and you see Sneasler and Indeedee, this is usually the set I would assume it is. I would always assume that it is Throat Chop, and I would also assume that it is Terra Dark. But I definitely want to talk about this Hydreigon, right? We see Draco Meteor, Snarl, Taunt, and Protect, and you are Safety Goggles. And I think the Safety Goggles is very important here because you literally, unless I am seeing something, you have one Pokemon that can handle Spore and Sleep Powder, but the good thing is that Pokemon that can handle Spore and Sleep Powder can also taunt. Can also taunt the Sporemon or the Sleep Powdermon, so I think that's quite important in a team like this as well. So just a really cool team, another fantastic take on Psy Spam, and I just really needed to point it out because I think you should never sleep on Psy Spam, let alone fast Psy Spam. Here we go. This is, I believe, the team that... This is actually the exact team, I believe, the Elizabeth team. I believe this is the team that Victor Medina did use to get second at LAIC, which I had mentioned in the first part of Reg H. And so I was actually wrong, please pardon me. I was actually wrong, so this team does use, Oh wait, no, this is a different team. I'm so sorry. This is, I believe, a different team. So slightly different, but we do see Sinistcha, the grass type on here, with the Trick Room, Life Dew, Rage Powder, Matcha Gotcha. And Sinistcha, I just think works so well on kind of like protect the king, protect the queen, protect the ruler teams, right? Because you have your big bad bridge here. You have your big bad bridge. You can get +1 special attack in the rain. You get your +1 defense every single time you get hit with a move, special or physical. So by the time your opponent can whittle away at your health, you go, BAM! You thought you were gonna KO me? Nah, fam. I'm gonna swap in my Sinistcha. I don't even have to click a move. All I have to do is swap in my Sinistcha, I get health back on that turn, and then if my Sinistcha is healthy enough, I can redirect. Boom. No more hitting my bridge. So sorry about that. 2, I can click Trick Room. If you're faster than me, I'll click Trick Room and I'll reverse those speeds. Or I'm healthy enough, I'll just click Life Dew, and I will heal up not only my Sinistcha, but also my Archelodon. You know? So that can be very, very painful. That can be very tough, very painful to play against, so definitely want to shout out that combination as well. And this is, again, the second time in top 8, right, that we are seeing Rain with double Steel-type special attacker, and I just want to say, I think that shows how good Steel-type special attackers are right now, and specifically how busted these two Pokemon are. Literally, we have seen multiple teams in top 8 with these two Mons, and that means that having a Steel-type special attacker does not feel redundant at all. And again, they do slightly different things, right? But overall, I just think that's we're at such an interesting point in the meta where having two Steel-type special attackers on a Rain team does not feel redundant in any way, shape, or form. Chat! You knew I was gonna talk about Sableye! Hey! So I really wanted to talk about this team here. I love the Sableye here. Sableye is such a fantastic little disruptor, right? I think, this is just a side note, but Sableye also has fantastic in-game animations, like Sableye literally hitting you with that bop bop. I love it. So Sableye is running Taunt, Disable, Reflect, Light Screen, so no attacking moves. We do just see both Light Screen and Reflect with the Light Clay, meaning that the screens will stick around for 8 turns as opposed to 5 turns, which can really benefit you when you are using a setup team like this. Additionally, the Disable can go so far. One, we do see quite a few choiced Pokemon in Regulation H, so if you are able to get a Disable off and disable what they are choiced into, they're forced to struggle or swap out. And I know that doesn't seem like it would be a lot, but being able to steal a turn, right? Being able to steal a turn from your opponent, and you force them to swap out. So you're stealing a turn for you to either set up with a Pokemon like the Annihilate, so you steal a turn for you to be able to set up, but then you also absolutely just disrupt and mess up their positioning, right? They wanted that Pokemon in. They wanted that Pokemon in for a reason. So now you disable that choice Pokemon. They are forced to struggle. They have to swap out, meaning they have to swap in something else that may not be ideal in that situation. So you have it just feels so good. You've really messed up their board positioning and everything like that. And we do see another Miracle Seed Rillaboom. I am a huge fan of Miracle Seed Rillaboom in Regulation H. I think it can really mess with people's calcs, and I do think it's really, really helpful to be able to pump out genuinely huge damage with your Grassy Glide because it is a priority move. So again, does not care if there's Tailwind up, does not care if there's Trick Room up, you get to use a priority move, and it just feels so good. I also do want to point out the sableye I believe this is the 8th place team? Sorry, it's the 6th place team. The sableye on the 6th place team has disable, and I do believe this... Yes, I do believe this, so the Ninetales on the winning team also has disable, and like I was just saying, I just think it's so helpful for really disrupting and messing up your opponent's board positioning and everything like that. So, another team that I do want to talk about is the Joan Garcia team. Sorry, let me just check. I believe this is the 7th place team. And here we go. We do see Solo Dozo. And I kind of already touched on why Yawn is so good, so I'm not going to say everything I already said exactly again, but just like Disable, it is a huge disruptor. It's a huge disruptor that works out so well in Protect the King, Queen, Ruler metas, where it just like, oh, you worked so hard for all those boosts, bah, go to sleep. Simply go to sleep or swap out and lose all your boosts, you know? So I definitely want to point that out. Additionally, look, if you watch the regional, you did see, I believe it was it was definitely a Swiss round. I believe it was a day one match where Dozo literally clicked Yawn and then clicked Fissure 5 times and hit, I believe, 4 of those 5 Fissures. And again, this kind of Dozo, with Unaware additionally, feels so, as much as I hate to say it, no one hates to say this truly more than me, is so good in this meta right now. We just went over all those teams, a lot of them either having a bridge, or having Mouse Ape, or having a set up Golden Go, right? So being able to just not care. Dozo is completely unaware, right? Unaware of those Pokemon's boosts. So being able to ignore those boosts and then click Yawn and then just getting time to click Fissure, You're asleep, I'll click Fissure. You're asleep, I'll click Fissure. I don't even need it to hit the first time, but just the threat of continuing to click it. Additionally, I do want to talk about this Baxcalibur, the only Baxcalibur in top 8. And Baxcalibur works very similarly. We've seen a good amount of Dragonite, but Baxcalibur works very similarly to the Dragonite in the fact that you have a move like, well, you have both Icicle Spear and Scale Shot, but you have a move like Icicle Spear, right? That hits multiple times, meaning it's really good into Pokemon like Sash Sneasler. You get to break Sash and then just do damage and KO the Sneasler, right? You also have Ice Shard, which is, I've kind of talked about why Priority is so good. Really good priority move. And then, No Protect. We do have Covert Cloak, No Protect, Terra Blast, Terra Fairy. Yes, I think I said all those words. Volcarona on here, Heat Wave, Terra Blast, Quiver Dance, Rage Powder. So I do like this, because you do have some setup mons here. You do have the Swords Dance on the King Gambit, so if you want to be able to Rage Powder, get King Gambit set up so you can just hit them with the huge Sucker Punch, huge Swords Dance, all that kind of stuff, I think that makes very, very good sense. And there was definitely... Okay, this is the 9th place team. Okay, that is not exactly what I wanted that to look like. That is fun. If I click on it twice, will it work? It certainly will not. Hey, yo! Okay, well, this is the Nicolaj team, and this team is consisting of, here, let me at least scroll so you can kind of see, like, a little bit what I'm putting up. I won't go into super detail, but we do see we see triple ghost, double normal, and an incineroar here. I just think this has some really fun picks. Again, we see Mouse Ape absolutely popping off here, so Mouse Ape did have itself a little time. At Frankfurt Regional. And there's really just two more teams that I want to talk about a little bit. One of them is the Sand team. We do see Sand Corviknight, and we did see Sand Corviknight have some success in the first part of Regulation H, and then also in this Regulation H 2.0. I believe it was Joe Ugarte did top 8, I believe, the big Victory Road tournament that happened 2 weekends ago with Sand and Corviknight. It wasn't the exact same Sand. There was no Garchomp. I mean, the teams were different, but the Sand mode, there was no Garchomp. It was a Excadrill instead, but did have Sand plus the Corviknight. And so this is clearly just an archetype. Again, there are different teams outside of that, but that is clearly just an archetype that is doing well right now. I think we do see Sand Stonks on the rise. And look, we got some fun stuff here, right? We got Sneasly Weasley holding on to that little air balloon. Don't you even think about hitting Sneasly Weasley with a super effective ground type move. Additionally, with air balloon, if you're hit by any sort of attack, the air balloon does pop, and then you get your Unburden, so I think that also works out really well. But so we have Garchomp with that Earthquake, we have Flying type here, we have Air Balloon here, we have Flying type Terra here as well. And I just think this works out so well. Look, a lot of the very strong Pokemon in this meta are in fact weak to ground, are 100% weak to ground, right? Like if we look, weak to ground, weak to ground, weak to ground. If we look, weak to ground, weak to ground, weak to ground. If we look, weak to ground. If we look, weak to ground, weak to ground, weak to ground. I can keep going, chat. I can keep going. Weak to ground, right? So, a lot of extremely common and top mons are, in fact, weak to ground type moves. So, I think having just a big ground damage, you are also that clear amulet, so unless the Incineroar or whatever Pokemon is using knockoff, that Pokemon has to use knockoff, take rough skin damage, and then you have to swap in your Intimidator. So if it's the Incineroar using knockoff, right, that means Incineroar has to take a ground type move, then click the knockoff button, take rough skin damage, then swap out, then another Pokemon has to take damage, and then swap back in just to get you to -1. That is a lot of resources to try to slow down this Garchomp. So I really do think this meta is absolutely primed and prepped for some ground type Pokemon and ground type damage to be absolutely taking over. And the last Pokemon I do want to talk about on this team is the beautiful Corviknight. Corviknight is one of my favorite Pokemon, so seeing the big steel bird have some success I think is really cool. Terra Dragon's super cool. That means you resist fire type moves, which you would be weak to. You also resist water type moves, electric type moves, all that kind of good stuff. So a really useful Terra. This Corviknight is running Brave Bird, Taunt, Roost, and Tailwind. I like having a Tailwind mode. I think Tailwind is really handy for a lot of these Pokemon that have like semi-middling speeds, you know? Taunt, really helpful. You can stop setup, you can stop your opponent's speed control as well. You can stop Spore, you can stop Sleep Powder, as you have two Pokemon. You have two Pokemon that, as long as Incineroar has their item, are immune to Spore and Sleep Powder, but shutting that down can be very, very useful. And then you have the Roost. Just make yourself a problem. Like, if you set Tailwind and your opponent wants to play passive by either swapping out or protecting, boom, Roost up, get another Tailwind up, you know? So I do think that's very cool. Additionally, let's check this out. So we do have coaching. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 physical attackers. I mean, 5 physical attackers, but Sneasly Weasley can't coaching itself, right? So we do have 4 other physical attackers that can be coached. So I think that is very useful as well. Makes it a little bit less necessary for you to have something like the bulk up on the Corviknight. And then we also do see the upper hand, and I love that. There's so much fake out running around. There's so much fake out running around. I can go back and I can look at all the teams that did well. Most of them have at least one fake outer. Many of them have the 2 fake out pals. So being able to just instead be like, nope, let me get some damage on you, and then you also flinch. So I really do want to talk about this team. Oh, sorry. I do see one more team I have to shout real quick. And that is this kind of snow team, right? We see the Frostmoth. Frostmoth has a really cool ability, Ice Scales. And Ice Scales lessens the damage that Frostmoth takes from special moves. So I just think that Frostmoth is a really cool bring here. If you don't Terra Frostmoth and you stay as an Ice type, you can boost up your special defense with the Quiver Dance, but then you also get your big defense boost just from having the Hail. And again, look what this Ninetales is running. Encore. So this Ninetales is actually running Encore and Disable, just a Disruptor. Just a Disruptor able to steal turns from your opponent, letting your Frostmoth set up or letting your Frostmoth click the huge Blizzard button. Additionally, we do see Dragonite, we do see the Ursaluna, which I really like here as well. You have you have like a Pokemon that you can EQ next to, and you can set Tailwind, and just like I was saying about Garchomp, like fast Earthquake can be very, very hard for a lot of teams to deal with. So we saw some really fun teams do well, some really fun picks do well at the Frankfurt Regional. And I think that's really the main thing that I wanted to talk about. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate that. I also just want to say a huge thank you for... I've kind of been experimenting with my YouTube content, and I've been putting out, I think, like, 3 of my last 4 videos haven't been battle content. It's just kind of been yap about VGC, and the meta content, and thank you so much for the love on those videos. Doing videos like that have really just reignited my passion, and I just really appreciate everybody kind of understanding, and I really appreciate everybody for the love on those videos. It really does mean the world to me, so I just want to say a big thank you for that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you all so much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you did enjoy this content at any time, please feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it, and it does help me out. I need to have an appreciation counter. Anyway, see you next time. Bye!